dedication to the community and says these challenges are not new for him or his staff. Since the spring, the city of Clinton has been without an administrator. The city hired longtime administrator Tim Followell's replacement to begin at the start of the year, but Darren Girdler resigned in the spring, and since it would appear the search has been stagnant, Councilman John Weiss Tuesday night says it's time for the city to resume that search.
We are working at, in the last meeting or two, we've talked about a job study and a job, wages study, and that's well and good. I've not changed my mind on that. The last one that was done in the city of Clinton was basically 1977. We've had some things change around when we went union, and we've had to take and establish job classifications titles for the union, but we've never done that in the entire city-wide deal since 77 is the last that they can really find anything. So I still believe that we need to do a study. But after reading through the proposal, I'm not wanting to not do that, but we can't wait till November to start looking for an administrative assistant. That's just too long. I would like to go ahead and get this thing done, but we were trying to see what we could do. But we have a job description. It's been on the table for a month or so, and we haven't went forward. And I would really like to see us go ahead and get Mr. Myers to advertise. We have the description. We can go with that, get something out there. We're losing out. May and April, we had a whole new crop of college kids that graduated, college individuals that may have some background or want to be into this type of work. And we're missing out on that. We're not getting anything out there for them to come and get that resume in here. I would like to see us move forward, go ahead and get this advertised.
Weiss says right now there are several city employees collectively pulling the weight of responsibilities of the administrator, with a lot of things coming soon that will require the knowledge of an administrator. He says the city needs to get moving to find someone.
We can put on there, and Mr. Myers and John can both tell me, as we do this, we can give the job as we see it and what our job paying is, put an aggregate in there of what top, scale, bottom, and then aggregate to what their abilities are and what their resumes can show us. We could be consumerate to their abilities and what they can fulfill on all that title. But I don't know if we'll ever get anybody that can do everything at one time, but we never had that with Tim either. He had to learn it over years. But we can go out here but just like we have zoning things could be coming up. We got this new addition. We finally got the road in. We're going to have people wanting to build houses. We don't have a zoning official. John has connections in Lincoln. I'm thinking we could find somebody on case-to-case basis to get someone in here, even if we find someone that doesn't have all that. Maybe they on a case-to-case basis, he could talk to someone there that does this, that come in here and help whoever we have, or come in here on case-to-case to get these things going and get forward. But we're remiss in not taking care of the citizens' needs and getting this done. We've been beating this dead horse for a year and a half, and we're still no farther along than what we were. So I would really like to see us, and if that's appropriate, get this thing forward, get this thing out there, and it's just my opinion. And then go ahead and get this wage study done. Then we can have the time for this to all come back. We can get in the information they need. I have no problem with that, but we can't wait that long to get an assistant. That's just the bottom line, in my opinion.
Newly sworn in City Attorney John Hoblet will get information from outgoing City Attorney Steve Myers and post the position online. It is 17 minutes after the hour here on this Thursday morning. Coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to dive into coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
Having a hard time finding the correct new car, truck, SUV, or crossover to fit your needs? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Some lots look low on inventory, so go to our website, look at our pre-order and reserve tab. You'll see inventory in transit, which are built and on their way to Clinton, and in production, new Chevys and Buicks, which are being built and will arrive soon. Or you can always call our sales team. They can help you find the correct one just for you. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
18 minutes after the hour here on this Thursday morning. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. The Illinois State Police is discussing current red flag laws. ISP Director Brendan Kelly says they have carefully analyzed how they handled the review of a clear and present danger report and issuance of a FOID card to the Highland Park shooting suspect. During a media briefing, Kelly was asked if any changes to the process are needed.
Illinois has obviously a comprehensive and fairly rigorous firearms training regime in this state. And we are always continuously assessing if there are weaknesses, if there are gaps, what we can do better.
Kelly stresses Illinois red flag laws have rely heavily on family members and others reporting their concerns about an individual, then cooperating with law enforcement.
And the people that have the information that could allow us to take further action, we have to have those folks cooperation. And we have to have their diligence. And we have to have those people be able to tell us the things that would reach the legal threshold for us to take action.
Kelly was speaking during a media briefing where he took questions about a clear and present danger report and FOID card issuance related to the Highland Park suspected shooter. It was another big week for winter wheat harvest. As we hear in this weekly crop report, rainfall was more than a half an inch below normal, so farmers had plenty of time in the fields, says crop statistician Steve Parn.
Corn silking reached 4% compared to the 5-year average of 17%. Corn condition was rated 2% very poor, 6% poor, 27% fair, 56% good, and 9% excellent.
9% of soybeans are now blooming.
Soybeans blooming reached 9% compared to the 5-year average of 21%. Soybean condition was rated 4% very poor, 7% poor, 27% fair, 54% good, and 8% excellent.
87% of winter wheat is now harvested, up 66% from the previous week and ahead of the 5-year average. Average statewide topsoil moisture came in at 11% very short, 33% short, 55% adequate, and 1% surplus. There are some precipitation chances for Illinois this week. We saw some showers and even storms roll through central Illinois yesterday afternoon and into the evening, but the back half of the month does not look too promising.
Well, they don't look that great, to be honest with you, and that's a real concern after we get through this particular time frame here in the next 5 to 7 days. The balance of July and then through August do turn drier over the Midwest, and as we move into the post corn pollination phase, the filling time frame, and for soybeans pod filling. That's going to put more of a premium on, just the capability of pop-up type thunder showers to develop, real localized activity. And then, maybe any tropical systems that kind of fall apart and infiltrate out of the Gulf Coast, dragging in some moisture, could help the cause as well. But at this point, you really can't depend on that or absolutely predict that that's going to happen here in early July. But at this point, again, August does not look like a real generous month when it comes to rainfall. So that puts even more of an importance on any precip that we get here during the next 7 days.
So then, as far as we've got about a minute left with Bryce Anderson, are similar conditions then kind of in play for the Western Corn Belt too?
Yes, they are. And there's going to be a few showers in parts of northern Iowa during the next week or so. But those, warmer and drier conditions through mid to late summer, they still are a part of things in the Western Corn Belt as well. And again, that keeps things, a little bit on the cautious side when we think about how the season is going to actually evolve.
That's retired DTN ag meteorologist Bryce Anderson making his comments to the RFD Radio Network this week. Farmer sentiment remained weak in June as the Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer fell to a reading of 97, 2 points below its May reading. Dr. Michael Langemeyer is the Associate Director at the Purdue Center for Commercial Ag. He spoke with the RFD Radio Network earlier this week and says June's survey was conducted June 13th through the 17th.
In the month of June, it was 2 points lower than the May index, and so now the Ag Economy Barometer index is sitting at 97, and that's the lowest we've seen since April of 2020. So it's been a long time since we've seen that low of index. The index of current conditions was actually up a little bit in June, but the index of future expectations was down quite a bit in June, and so that gives us a index that's very similar to what we saw in May. One of the questions that really highlights the continued concerns of producers is we ask a question, what is your biggest concern in the next 12 months? And 43% of those surveyed indicated that it was input costs. And so still a lot of concern about input costs. Also concerns about availability of inputs. That was the second most checked item, and that was at 21%. We're concerned about availability of inputs, and so input availability, input costs were on producers' mind in mid-June. Lower crop and livestock prices actually came in third at 17%. But as we were talking before we started this interview, when we interviewed folks in mid-June, crop prices were still relatively strong. They've come down since then, and so it'd be interesting to see what the biggest concerns are when we survey people in July.
Yeah, it's one thing to be concerned about input costs, but yeah, like we were talking, June 17 was the last peak in the market. And before today's drop, well, now if you include today's drop, you're close to $2 for soybeans and more than $1.50 for corn and more than 2.5 for wheat. So if you had that kind of sentiment when the prices were quite a bit higher, this doesn't bode too well. It makes you wonder if, I don't know, are we close to record territory at this point?
We could very well be, and particularly when you're looking at the index of future expectations, I think that index is going to be interesting to watch because I think that's the index that's going to really take it in the shorts, if you will, because when you start looking at 23, we're already in a cost price squeeze, and with high input costs and that drop in crop prices that you're talking about, and so there's going to be a lot of concerns about the next 5 years.
The Purdue University CME Group Ag Barometer Sentiment Index is calculated each month from 400 U.S. agricultural producers' response to a telephone survey. It's been a warm and dry start to the summer in Illinois. Last month was the 30th warmest June on record, with temperatures 1 to 2 degrees above normal overall, says state climatologist Trent Ford.
We did have a stretch there in the middle part of the month where we had multiple days where highs were in the mid to upper 90s. A couple places broke 100, and the humidity was unrelenting as well. So heating index values were like 110 to 120, and that was really the most intense part of June.
Its rainfall, was more than an inch below normal in June as well.
Only an area around the Quad Cities, and then just a bit farther south along the Mississippi River, along the Missouri border, were anywhere near normal. The driest parts of the state were here in east central Illinois, kind of Vermilion, Champaign County, Piatt County area, as well as parts of southwest and southeast Illinois.
Ford says the outlook for the first half of July is calling for below normal temperatures. The nation's pork producers are being very cautious about making production decisions for the future. Gary Crawford has more.
Almost every number in USDA's most recent quarterly hogs and pigs report is down from a year ago, but by only 1% or less. The spring quarter pig crop, 32.9 million head, down 1% from the same March through May quarter a year ago. Likewise, sows farrowed during that period, down 1%. The breeding inventory June 1st was about 6.2 million head, down, you guessed it, 1%. And the total June 1st inventory of all hogs and pigs, 72.5 million head, was down from last year. Let's hear it, 1%. And as for production over this next year. The report says producers intend to have just over 3 million sows farrow during the summer quarter, about the same for the fall quarter. Both would be, yes, 1% below a year ago. What does this tell you about the situation and attitude of pork producers?
The watchword is probably uncertainty.
USDA livestock analyst Sheo Shagam told us an aura of uncertainty about the immediate future seems to prevail right now.
Uncertainties in terms of grain prices, in terms of demand in this economy for pork, which would obviously then translate into demand for hogs.
So Shagam says on the surface,
the report would indicate sort of a little bit of a negative tint in the sense that we're not looking at any expansions in farrowing intentions. They didn't expand farrowings, but nor did they show really significant levels of contraction.
Now, the most recent USDA projections on pork production go like this.
We're showing pork production for 2022 down about 1.6% from a year earlier, and 2023 production was going to be up about 0.5%.
And as to the forecast for hog prices,
average prices for the national base lean price that we use as our marker on a live equivalent basis being about $71 a hundredweight in 2022 compared to about $67 in 2021, and then remaining fairly steady at about $71 in 2023.
Overall, pretty steady outlook for production and prices. And so Shagam says on the surface, as far as future production,
I think the industry is taking a very measured approach.
Cautious approach. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
29 minutes after the hour, coverage of news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network News is next.
Johnson makes it official. I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Standing outside